Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, the Pentagon launches a review of CMMC, and another startup joins Energy's Genesis mission consortium. It's Friday, July 17th, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. And now let's dive into the day's top headlines. The Pentagon has placed an immediate freeze on forthcoming cybersecurity requirements after government research suggested that policy would drive many businesses out of the defense industrial base at a time when U.S. military urgently needs their innovations. Pentagon Chief Information Officer Kirsten Davies and Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment Michael Duffey unveiled plans earlier this week to suspend the much-anticipated Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification Phase 2 requirements that were set to take place on November 10th. A new CMMC Reform Task Force has been stood up to conduct a review of the entire program and submit a report of its findings and recommendations within the next 60 days. This major pause comes as contractors have been hustling to obtain third-party assessments of their CMMC compliance in preparation for that near-term enforcement date. With that, the Pentagon released a new request for information to garner stakeholders' feedback on the move and associated compliance challenges. The CMMC Reform Task Force will analyze the responses as part of its upcoming review of the program. The Defense Department originally planned to introduce CMMC requirements through a 3-year implementation plan. Phase 1 began in November 2025 and required self-assessments under CMMC Level 1 and Level 2. Phase 2 was expected to kick off in November this year and would have forced companies to achieve CMMC Level 2 by passing an assessment from a certified third-party assessment organization in order to receive contract awards. Phase 3 would have followed in November 2027, introducing Level 3 Defense Industrial Base Cybersecurity Assessment Center assessments. During the interim period, as senior leaders figure out the best path ahead, they said that DoD will enforce cybersecurity compliance with NIST Special Publication 800-171 Revision 2 standards through self-assessments and select government-led assessments. Now moving on to other news, ScaleAI is joining the Department of Energy's Genesis mission consortium, serving as the collaborative hub for working groups and structured partnerships the vendor shared with FedScoop prior to its announcement on Thursday. The technology provider is the latest private sector partner to join DOE's Genesis mission consortium as the agency continues building up its roster. Emerald AI and SambaNova Systems have also jumped on board in recent weeks. For ScaleAI, the partnership represents a further expansion of its role in the Genesis mission and comes after it signed a memorandum of understanding earlier this year. A ScaleAI spokesperson told FedScoop, quote, "Scale's contribution to the Genesis mission builds on the work we've been doing for years, creating high-quality evaluation benchmarks, preparing data for advanced AI systems, developing AI agents for complex workflows, and supporting computer vision and robotics applications," unquote. DOE launched the consortium in February as a way to deepen public-private partnerships that it believes will fuel the larger initiative. ScaleAI joins the likes of Accenture, Amazon Web Services, Databricks, and IBM. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit FedScoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Carlin Fisher helped put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back next week with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.